Greetings. It is Thursday, June the 18th, 2026. Quite a year. I'm Thomas Caldwell of the Aurelian Column, and this is the Midweek Report. Now, we're going to do things a little differently today. There are other stories I wanted to cover, but the big one that everyone is talking about, and very few people are accurately reporting on, is what we are referring to as the MOU, the Memo of Understanding between the United States and the Islamic Republic of Iran. Over the last day or so, there have been so many people in so many places and so many outlets saying, oh, Trump has betrayed us, Trump has surrendered, Trump is this, Trump is that, and I was not happy to hear that. I'm not the biggest fan of Donald Trump, but I'm certainly not his biggest detractor. I'm one that likes to figure things out for myself and also go to the source. Early this morning, I got up and I was reading over this memo and comparing it to what other people were saying. And I think I'm in a unique position to analyze this and to kind of give a better example of what it probably means. And that's probably because most journalists don't have business backgrounds. I lived in the Far East. I lived in other countries and cultures and dealt with other languages in areas of business. And I think I see what's being cooked up here. Now, I'm going to read this entire thing and comment on it as I go along. But before I do that, I'm going to put certain things in perspective. One, this war has lasted far longer than the Trump administration was led to believe by, Israel. No surprise there. There is concern that the U.S. is running out of weapons. How accurate that is, I don't know, and I don't think the U.S. government publicizes its weapons inventory, but they've certainly used up a lot of very expensive toys and haven't gotten all the results they wanted, namely regime change. 2, the Straits of Hormuz being blocked is causing havoc to the international economic environment. Businesses everywhere are suffering. The Middle East is not happy. Nobody's happy. Gasoline prices are through the roof, which is the big thing here in the U.S., in spite of the fact that not a single drop of American-bound oil goes through the Straits of Hormuz. That's speculation, which is one of the curses of American-style capitalism. So there's bad stuff going on. The U.S. needed to get out of this situation, or at least postpone any further nastiness. And they needed the Straits of Hormuz open. They needed oil to flow again, especially with what's coming up in the United States, which is the midterm elections. So I'm going to go through this document completely. No more of this people reading Cliff Notes or people going off there listening to what some commentator claims to have said. Very few people read these things, but we're going to read it today together. So this is going to take a little longer than usual, but you'll be better for it in the end, as would be most people if they bothered to read things. The document starts as this. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran have jointly agreed in good faith on the following, with the date being inserted, which I imagine will be tomorrow. Item 1, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran and their allies in the current war are signing this MOU to declare the immediate and permanent termination of military operations on all fronts, including in Lebanon, and undertake from now on not to initiate any war or any military operation against each other, and to refrain from the threat or use of force against each other, and ensuring the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Lebanon. The final deal will confirm the permanent termination of the war on all fronts, including in Lebanon, and other provisions of this paragraph. When you go through this document, you'll see they mention the final deal quite a few times. Again, this is a memo of understanding. It's not a treaty. It's a let's talk in the future. We'll go into that in a minute. Now, this is kind of interesting because people are wringing their hands saying this means the Israelis have to not defend themselves. This means that Lebanon is going to be completely controlled by the Iranians, and I don't see that at all. Now, first off, it says here quite clearly the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Lebanon. what does that mean? Well, it could mean, and again, this is a very vague document, and I'll go into that much later on why I think that is. That means that nobody outside is going to interfere in Lebanon. And that wouldn't just include the Israelis, who are not named anywhere here. That would include Hezbollah, the nasty surrogates of the Iranian Islamic Republic. Now, don't think for a second that the Iranians wouldn't throw Hezbollah under the bus and watch them get pulverized by anybody or let them die on the vine if they didn't get something out of it. They've been tools all along. I read that as saying, well, Lebanon's going to be allowed to take care of itself and no one outside is going to interfere with it. And not just Israeli tanks or fighter planes. That would include Hezbollah. That's the way it could be interpreted. And I dare anyone out there to say otherwise. This doesn't say Israel can't fight back. It doesn't keep Hezbollah in place. It's a very vague way of saying, okay, we'll cut them off if there's going to be more in it for us. That's the way it could be interpreted. But nobody out there is saying that. To me, it's quite obvious. Let's go on here. Number 2, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran undertake to respect each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity and to refrain from interfering in each other's internal affairs. Well, that's kind of a standard nicety thing. That means the U.S. isn't going to try to overthrow the Islamic Republic of Iran, at least overtly. Is the Islamic Republic of Iran interfering in American things? Yeah. It sounds nice, shall we say, but with the skullduggery in the world, no one's going to pay attention to that. It just means that the U.S. is not going to try to overthrow them overtly, and maybe that's what they'll do. Again, the U.S. is out for itself. Everyone's out for itself. Israel is out for itself. No surprise there. In fact, I don't really see how the U.S. is going to get Israel to go along with anything here, a la paragraph 1, because Israel always does what it wants. So what's going on behind the scenes again? We don't know because it's behind the scenes. Item 3, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran commit to negotiating and achieving the final deal in maximum 60 days, extendable with mutual consent. 60 days extendable if everybody wants to keep talking, which means in perpetuity if you want. This could go on forever. There is no deadline. This basically says that we're going to try in 60 days to have everything sorted out between us based on the principles of this very vague memo. And if we decide to go further and keep talking, we'll keep talking. That means nothing, really. Really, it means nothing, but it means we're going to just talk. Okay, we're going to talk. Item 4, immediately upon the signing of this MOU, the United States of America will begin the removal of its naval blockade and any disturbances or impediments against the Islamic Republic of Iran, and will fully end the naval blockade within 30 days. During this period, the traffic of vessels will be proportional to the numbers of pre-war traffic being restored by the Islamic Republic of Iran. The United States of America further undertakes to remove its forces from the proximity of the Islamic Republic of Iran within 30 days after the final deal. This is really very convoluted. Okay, so within 30 days, the U.S. will stop blockading things. Fine, it wants to see the Straits of Hormuz opened. But it doesn't really say what it means by forces nearby. Does that mean 10 miles away, 100 miles away, 1,000 miles away? People are saying this means it's going to close all its bases in the Middle East. It does not say that at all, people. Not at all. I'm sorry, but what you're hearing about this is just not true. So it means it's going to stop the blockade and open up the Straits of Hormuz. Great. It's going to keep its forces away from Iran, but doesn't say how far. It's putting another 30 days on that. In other words, the blockade stops within 30 days. It could stop within 30 hours if the U.S. wanted it to. 30 days, that's an interesting number. Wonder what it really means. Now, number 5, upon the signing of this MOU, the Islamic Republic of Iran will make arrangements using its best efforts for the safe passage of commercial vehicles with no charge for 60 days only from the Persian Gulf to the Sea of Oman and vice versa. The traffic of commercial vessels will immediately start, and considering the need of removing the technical and military obstacles and demining by the Islamic Republic of Iran will be installed within 30 days. 30 days again, interesting. The Islamic Republic of Iran will conduct dialogue with the Sultanate of Oman to define the future administration and maritime services in the Strait of Hormuz in discussion with other Persian Gulf littoral states in line with the applicable international law and the sovereign rights of coastal states of the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, that's one of the longest paragraphs here. The Straits of Hormuz need to be open. It doesn't say that the Iranians are going to be charging. It says they can't charge for 60 days while they're talking, and that there will be some deal put together by Iran and Oman to keep them flowing. That's not a bad idea. Now, again, the Islamic Republic of Iran shouldn't exist. It's an Islamic Republic, after all, and we know how much trouble they've caused. But, again, this is opening up a very needed seaway for international commerce. Not a bad idea, no matter who's on either side. Putting together something equivalent to a port authority there, doesn't say they charge money, though, afterwards. It means they'll work out a deal. Again, everything is in the future here. There is no deal. There's only an agreement that we need to make a deal. Number 6, the United States of America undertakes with regional partners to develop a definitive, mutually agreed plan with at least $300 billion for the reconstruction and economic development of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The mechanism for the implementation of this plan will be finalized as part of the final deal, that word again, final deal, within 60 days. All required licenses, waivers, and permissions needed for the relevant financial transactions will be granted by the United States of America. Now, this has really gotten people upset. $300 billion, well, okay, but where's it coming from? It doesn't say. Is the U.S. giving it to them? Is everyone going to chip in a few $billion here and there? If someone walks up to me and says, I think you should have a real nice house, I'm going to give you $3 million so you can live for the rest of your life. Problem is, I don't have it. I don't know where to get it. Yeah, I'd love that, but where's this money coming from? It doesn't say. It really doesn't say. And that's a number, well, if the Iranians get that amount of money from someplace, they're definitely going to use it, and I'm sure a lot of it will be used for nefarious purposes, but we're just promising them something. We're not even promising them. We're just saying that we'd like to help you find this money. That's the way I read it here. Undertake with regional partners. What does that mean? Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Israel, to develop a definitive mutually agreed plan with at least $300 billion for the reconstruction and economic development of the Islamic Republic of Iran. It doesn't say that they're free to spend the money any way they want. I mean, it really is nothing. They're promising nothing. They're just throwing a number out saying, we're going to try to find this money for you. Okay, let's go on. Number 7, the United States of America undertakes to terminate all types of sanctions against the Islamic Republic of Iran, including the United Nations Security Council resolutions. That means nothing. The U.S. undertakes to terminate. The U.S. does not have the power to arbitrarily get rid of United Nations Security Council resolutions. It has a lot of political power, and everyone knows how corrupt most third world countries are, and the U.S. could easily buy the UN Security Council with quite a few suitcases full of money. Okay, now, if this happens, it's not great, but there might be a reason for it. The UN basically clamped everything down in Iran. It's been having to operate on the sly to sell its oil. It's been a real challenge. But getting rid of all sanctions against Iran, now that is big and that is upsetting to a lot of people, and I can understand why. I don't think it's great either, but I think I know why they're doing that, and I'll go into that a little bit later. Let me continue on with that. Let me continue on with paragraph 7. The IAEA Board of Governors resolutions all unilateral U.S. sanctions, primary and secondary, in an agreed-upon schedule as part of the final deal. The Islamic Republic of Iran and the United States of America acknowledge the critical importance of the sanctions termination issue above mentioned and express their intentions to immediately address these issues in the negotiations in order to achieve mutual agreement on them. Again, they're saying nothing. He says that we're going to talk about it. The U.S. doesn't have the power to get rid of these sanctions all by itself. It'll talk about getting rid of the sanctions. But let's talk about it. That's what this says. 8. The Islamic Republic of Iran reaffirms that it shall not procure or develop nuclear weapons, period. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran have agreed to resolve the disposition of stockpile-enriched material pursuant to a mechanism that will be mutually agreed upon in accordance with the schedule mentioned in paragraph 7, with the minimum methodology to be laid down blended on-site under the supervision of the IAEA. The two parties also agreed to discuss the issue of enrichment and other mutually agreed matters related to the Islamic Republic of Iran's nuclear needs, based on a satisfactory framework being agreed upon in the final deal. The final deal will confirm the provisions of this paragraph, and the Islamic Republic of Iran acknowledge the critical importance of the nuclear issue above missions. They express their intention to immediately address these issues in the negotiations in order to achieve mutual agreement on them. Okay, it means they're pulling in the IAEA. Iran will not make nuclear weapons, or it says it won't. And it basically puts the whole nuclear thing in abeyance. We're going to talk about it. We're going to come to an agreement. This is an agreement to come to an agreement. It is very vague language, and I think it has a lot to do with translation into the Iranian language of Farsi, and I'll go into that a little bit later. But that's very vague. It makes it look like they can have a nuclear program. They just can't make nuclear weapons with it. And they're going to do something with their enriched material. Again, nothing's been agreed upon here. It's just talking to talk. Number 9. Pending the final deal, that phrase again, final deal, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran agree to maintain the status quo. The Islamic Republic of Iran will maintain the current status quo of its nuclear program, and the United States of America will not impose any new sanctions and will not deploy additional forces in the region. This is interesting. It means nothing's going to change. Okay, great. Iran's nuclear program is a smoldering pile of rubble. All of its scientists are dead. I guess they're not going to get any new ones anytime soon. And the U.S. isn't going to change anything, but it's saying it's going to stop the blockade, but it's not going to change anything. Does it mean it's going to keep its warships nearby to start the blockade again? This is a weird paragraph, and it says everything's going to stay the same while we're talking. Okay, let's see what else is here. Paragraph 10, the United States of America undertakes that immediately upon the signing of this MOU and until the termination of sanctions, the U.S. Department of Treasury will issue waivers for the export of Iranian crude oil, petroleum products, and derivatives and all associated services, including banking transactions, insurances, transportation, etc. This is big and not the way you might think. Okay, Iran, you no longer have to sneak around the world trying to sell your oil. You can dump it on the market in massive quantities, and no one's going to interfere with your selling it to anybody you want. Now, what does that tell you, people? Suddenly, one of the world's largest producers of petroleum, oil, all the other derivatives, are going to dump as much as they can on the market. They're desperate for money, and they're going to sell to anyone who wants to buy it. China, everyone. China must really love this. Now, as soon as the sanctions are terminated, the spigots are going to flow. What do you think that will do to gas prices in the United States? Or transportation prices? Really. When I saw that, I said, OPEC is already on its last legs. The UAE has already left it. Iran is not exactly involved with it anymore either. They've been trying to sell their oil through very roundabout means. Now they're just going to turn the valve and say, come on up, folks, and fill up to your heart's content. And there's going to be a lot of price competition. I knew there was something more to this, but that is funny. Number 11, the United States of America undertakes to make fully available for use the foreign or restricted funds and assets of the Islamic Republic of Iran upon the implementation of this MOU. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran will mutually agree on the procedures related to the release of these funds during negotiations. Oh, okay. Such funds, whether obtaining the original amount or transfer, shall be made fully usable for payment to any ultimate beneficiary designated by the Central Bank of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The United States of America undertakes to issue all necessary licenses and authorizations accordingly. Okay, this means that they're going to talk, and they're going to come up with a way to release the money they already have. Now, a lot of that money has already been sent back to them, a lot of assets during the Obama and Biden years, but there's something that's still lurking around. This is just a way of sending it back to Iran. Okay, well, what does that really mean? It just means more nice language. It means that we're going to talk about talking. Okay, let's keep going here. Only a few more. 12, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran agree that an executive mechanism will be established to monitor the successful implementation of this MOU and the future compliance of the final deal. The final deal again. This just means that they're going to have people whose jobs are there to monitor everything. Okay, that's kind of standard. But the final deal, the elusive, far in the distance, final deal. Number 13, after signing the MOU and subject to the beginning of the implementation of paragraphs 1, 4, 5, 10, and 11 of this MOU, and the continuing implementation of these measures, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran will start negotiations regarding the final deal exclusively on the other paragraphs. In other words, they're going to talk about what's here and related. This doesn't say that much, and I think I know what's going on here. We'll go into that in a second. Now, this is really funny. Number 14, the final deal will be endorsed by a binding United Nations Security Council resolution. There's no way the United States or Iran can guarantee that, but it's there anyways. It would have been nice if they added one more. Item number 15, the United States will ensure that AIPAC registers as a foreign agent in the United States and no longer has anything to do with, well, you got the idea there, but you can't hope for everything. Okay, we've gone through the whole thing, and let me tell you what I think is going on. First off, on the surface, if this was a treaty and it was presented to the U.S. Senate, oh, by the way, those of you listening overseas, the president cannot really sign treaties. They have to be endorsed by approved by the United States Senate. He can sign them, I should say, but the Senate has to vote on them and make them law. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. By the way, Iran is still considered a terrorist nation. There's nothing in this memo of agreement saying that the United States will cease recognizing the Islamic Republic of Iran as a terrorist nation or the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terrorist organization. It doesn't say anything like that. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes with a terrorist nation. That wasn't put in there. Now, international agreements like this reference to the primary language for interpretation. That's missing from this document, and the reason it's missing is because the entire world is going to be referring to what they come up with in English. Nobody's going to be referring to the Farsi translation. And I'm willing to bet next week's tank of gas that a lot of the language in Farsi doesn't translate very well into English and vice versa. I think that there's a suitable vagary here that, the Iranians might not really understand what's going on, and the Americans might be pulling a fast one. Something very few Americans realize is that the English language is a very specific, very direct, non-negotiable form of communication. It's very, very direct. Other languages tend to be very vague, very roundabout, very imprecise. English is extremely precise. And Americans are very, very good at legal stuff. It's kind of a religion here. The state religion is legal. We don't have a justice system in the United States. No, we don't have justice here. We just have the law. Not the same thing. I guarantee you that something has been lost here in translation, and the Iranians are going to be misinterpreting certain things. You see, the U.S. and Israel basically wiped out the entire leadership and a lot of corporate memory of the government there, and you have people at much lower levels that have now taken senior power positions. A lot of them don't have experience, and a lot of them are probably not very good at the English language. So this is going to get real interesting. Now, I'm going to give you the conclusion on this document. Based on my experience and my firsthand knowledge of such things, this document was authored by someone with a very extensive business background who is used to spending a lot of time in court. It's very vaguely written. It's open to a lot of different interpretation, like the references to Lebanon. I read that as saying that Hezbollah has to vacate. The Iranians probably read it as Israel has to vacate. It should mean that everybody should vacate and leave the Lebanese alone. Will the Iranians see it that way? I bet you this is not the same document they're seeing in their language. It's a very vague prelude to an agreement, not a final deal, nothing of the kind. Something written by a businessman who spends a lot of time in court and is known for being a little underhanded in the world of commerce. Does that sound like anybody familiar to you? This thing is not over yet. This is basically giving the U.S. a breather that it needed for 60 days or more. It's given the world a breather for 60 days or more to get commerce flowing through the Straits of Hormuz. But I think what's really underhanded here is the Iranians are going to be allowed to dump oil on the world market in massive quantities. And those of us that use the stuff, which is everybody, are going to benefit by that. Kind of interesting, isn't it? You're open to your own interpretation of what this document is about and what it means and how it'll be interpreted. It's going to be signed, and everybody's going to be hemming and hawing about it. But this is going to give 60 days of badly needed space to the world economy and those of us who use automobiles. Remember, it's always important to drink from the fountain of knowledge. Don't just gargle and spit it out. That's it for today. If you appreciate my work, please like, subscribe, and share. Share with your friends and share with your enemies. And when you cut a deal with them, make sure it's in your native language. I can be reached at feedback@aureliancolumn.com. That's feedback@aureliancolumn.com. I'm up on X. My handle there is MICCAMPEN. That's MICCAMPEN. This podcast originates at Substack. My handle there is aureliancolumn.substack.com. Until we meet again, be good, be safe, be vigilant, and remember, Clown World, the deep state, and artificial intelligence must be destroyed. Good day.